Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Advisor. Today, I'm really excited. Now, before we begin, I just want to dive into a big thank you to today's sponsor, Dr. Bradley Nelson, a New York Times bestselling author of The Emotion Code and The Body Code. And we're grateful to have his support for the show and his lifelong work helping people explore energy healing in a safe, structured way. Now, today's guest is LeAnn Lyon, and she's an entrepreneur coach, and she is a chief joy officer behind Joy Minded Solutions, where she equips founders and soon to be founders with practical tools and trusted guidance to build businesses they actually enjoy. She's also the creator of Start, Restart Your Business Summit and the host of Beyond the Business Plan, a show where she spotlights real world leadership and entrepreneurship. You'll find Leanne's work at joymindersolutions.now.site. And in our show notes, you'll see all that information listed. Now, Leanne, thank you so much for coming on the show. I am so excited to have you here. Before we begin, tell everybody a big hello and just let them know all about you because we all want to learn as much as we can about you.
Thank you. Well, a couple of actually, you covered everything. There's nothing else to know. Just kidding. Yep. So my name's LeAnn Lyon. I am the Chief Joy Officer of my company, Joyminder. And people ask me, well, why Joyminder? It's your reminder that joy is central to our lives. And joy isn't the same as happiness. There's just a very different feeling between joy and happiness. So, Joy Minder is all about that. And especially for those people who are burned out professionals, they feel like, man, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, a nurse, a chiropractor, hospitality when I was 20, but it doesn't feel the same when I'm 40. And
Yeah.
those are the people that just have my heart because I was a teacher. I made
Mhm.
it 5 years, whole different story. And I just realized it really wasn't the calling on my heart. And so I really want people to tap into what are they called to do? And if they're called to become an entrepreneur, and about 41% of people have that desire in the United States, well, I'd love to help them find their way because only about 6 to 9% of Americans are self-employed like us.
Yes, that's so true. And that's such a great thing. You've said that you're willing to share vulnerable moments like breaking bones and losing community. What happened and how did those experiences reshape your identity and direction?
Thank you. I just made a reel about that this morning.
Really?
Last year on my birthday, I woke up on a boat in the middle of the Mississippi, which is awesome, with a broken bone in my back, a rib. And I didn't know it, but 3 weeks or 3 days later, I was going to break my foot on the same boat. Yeah. So I basically started my birthday, last year with two broken bones. Yay! And it sounds like a terrible thing, but really it was a wake-up call. Like,
Mhm.
why did I fall twice in 1 week and break bones? Maybe I should go get that checked out. And I did, but mostly it was just, hey, I was a little heavier than I needed to be. I was a little less healthy than I needed to be. And what was I going to do about it?
Yeah.
So, with those broken bones, you can't go for a walk, you can't go to the gym, you can barely breathe, and you can't sleep.
Yeah.
So, you
Mhm.
had to find other alternatives. And I found a great coach to work with me. And within 2 months, I was down almost 30 pounds and just kept it going. So that was one blessing. The other things, though, too, this whole last year was a lot about pruning, some relationships, some uh, businesses that I'd supported, things that I really believed in. But now I believe with my faith, that God was just saying, look, you're spending all this time on other people, and I need you to do something else. And
Yeah.
so even my website now is simply joyminder.com. Nice and simple, easy to get there. And I'm so excited to have launched that yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome. And now, what did the lowest moment teach you about starting over? And what was the first small step you took in creating that real momentum?
Wow, I would not even call anything in the last year my lowest moment. I will
Mhm.
tell you that in 2019, I had a pretty devastating loss of a business. Very sudden, very unexpected, and quite frankly, quite just wrong.
Yeah.
And I went from having a thriving business to being completely closed in 6 weeks. That was devastating. But what really got me through that was my faith in many ways. As I drove out of that parking lot, I mean, I'm still emotional over it 6 years later. But as I drove out of that parking lot, there was a song that played on the radio that said, "Get up, up again." Lots of horns. I love myself a good saxophone, right? But
Ah,
yeah, it was just this get up, up again. And I thought, that's what I'm going to do. And the next morning, I'm sitting on my couch and an old website that I'd owned, oh, 18 years earlier somehow appeared in one of my emails. And I was like, huh, I wonder if that's still available. And that website was joyminder.com.
wow. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Did you get
Now,
chills? Because I did.
I got chills. I got chills. I feel like sometimes things are just dropped in our lap for a purpose. Everything happens for a reason. I believe that. I believe that totally. And, when things happen, I just have to stop and think and realize that everything happens for a reason. There's sometimes you look up when things are at our lowest or just trauma into our life or obstacles enter our life and we say, why? Why? And I really feel that it's there for a reason. It's there either to make us more resilient, it's there to give us wisdom, it's there to prepare us for the next thing in life. There's a reason for it. And even the worst things that have happened, I've become a better person from it, if that makes sense. And so I really do think everything happens for a reason. Now, your business isn't faith forward, but your Christian faith informs your life. So, how do you honor your beliefs while serving a diverse client base? And what does that show up in your leadership?
One of my favorite people that I was introduced to is John Maxwell, John C. Maxwell. And I met him through network marketing. I really had never heard of him before getting involved with network marketing, but one of my leaders started pointing direction to him. I really learned a lot from him. He led some of the largest churches in America, and yet he's known as the leadership guy. He changed things from, what was the old word?
Hmm.
From management to leadership.
Yeah.
And but he did this in a way that was just very informed. I love the story where he said he was at a convention and somebody said, "Where do you get all these great ideas?" And he said, "Oh, you don't want to know." Of course, that makes everybody say, "I want to know."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
when finally they pried it out of him, he said, "It's all in the Bible."
yeah.
And he said, "I'll be downstairs. Find me in the corner." He said several, like 5 or 6 people in that convention gave their life to Christ that night with
Wow.
him. And I thought, if we can be amazing people, people
Yeah,
that resonate with other people, people who give, provide, support, connect, do whatever gifting we have, if we do it to excellence, people are
yeah.
going to want to know, where do we get our strength? And my strength is in the Lord.
Yes, it is. Now, any practices, prayer, journaling, reflection that helped you navigate grief, burnout, or uncertainty and returned you back to purpose?
Great question. I don't have a set one that I use for myself, but I do have a large variety of them because when I work with people, there is no one, this is going to work for you because it really depends on their situation, where they're coming from. Some
Yeah.
people need to talk it out. Some people need to find a coach. Some people need a combination of things. Some people need better nutrition, quite frankly, and that can help with a lot of things. So, journaling for me, though, is my thing. I think when I turned 40, it was a bit
Mhm.
ago, I actually was writing my 40th journal book. And I
Yeah.
tell my husband, you have to bury all of these with me because nobody should ever read these. But so journaling is a great way. And I do feel many times when I'm journaling that the Holy Spirit can speak through. Sometimes I read some of the things that I wrote and I think, where did that come from? That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I agree with you, and that's happened to me many times. What I would do is I would journal, and then when I felt like I got past that part of my life, and now I'm at a different area of my life, like I either overcame it, I would take those pages and I would rip them out of the book and then I would get rid of them. And I would feel like, okay, that part of my life is gone. I've overcome it. And today this is what I'm going through, or today this is where I'm at. And I would focus right on the
Uh,
present moment.
I love that. I have done that once. I haven't made a regular practice of it. Considering. It's definitely worth considering.
Now, for the burned out professional who's listening, how can they reunite themselves and reignite their purpose in life, like in 30 days? Like, what routines, boundaries, and habits do you suggest that you think matter most?
I'll go back to journaling or thinking, praying, journaling, anything. The whole process. I actually have a process called the sailing system, SAILING. And it's the first two steps of it are setting your course and anchoring your readiness. And that's all internal.
Yeah.
Think about what are your values? What brings you joy? What would you do all day long and not be paid for it and be cool with it? All the
Yeah.
kind of traditional questions that you might ask are who breaks your heart? Who brings you joy? Think about all of these things and start narrowing down. Other than what you're doing today, what would you love to do? What is speaking to your heart to do? And start to step towards that. That's the first two letters of the sailing system. You can ask me why I have it called the sailing system if you like.
I'd love to know.
Because part of our journey is we are empty nested. My husband and I have been married over 30 years, and we are planning to embark on what's called the Great Loop, which is from Minnesota, which is where we live. It'll be a 7,000-mile round trip on
Ooh,
a boat. Yep. Down the
that's
Mississippi to the Gulf, around Florida, up the East Coast, into the Great Lakes, back down to Chicago, and then back to the Mississippi.
oh wow. Well, I hope you're going to record that and let everybody see your
Oh, yeah.
venture. That's an
Me?
amazing.
What do you think?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that would be something that I would definitely want to watch. That's amazing. That's amazing. What motivated you to want to do that?
I was on a boat one time before I met my husband. One time. And it was about I was maybe 9 years old. My uncle had a boat and he brought us through this amazing lock and dam in Minneapolis. It's about a 30 plus foot drop. If you don't know what locks are, they're really cool. Go find a YouTube video. And
Yeah.
it was about a 30-foot drop. It was huge. It was very impressive, made an impression on me. And then I was never on a boat again until about 4 months after I started dating my husband. He's like, "Hey, you want to go boating?" I'm like, "You have a boat?" Didn't even know. And we've had a boat pretty much ever since. And it's
Oh,
just become part of our lifestyle. Even this weekend is we're going to be going out on the Mississippi. We find a little island. You just pull up, a bunch of other boats pull up, you throw down some firewood, yep, it's a big community and it's just so lovely. But fewer people have completed the Great Loop than have climbed Mount Everest
wow. Wow. That's
so
going to
far.
be amazing. Well, I'm signing up for your Instagram so I can find you guys and see you go. That's for sure.
I'm excited. It will be fun. And so the sailing system and everything in Joyminder is kind of nautically based, roughly. I really think I should get a sailor hat, start
Yeah.
wearing that.
Oh, I would love that would be awesome. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Now, what's your personal resilience stack, sleep movement, your mindset? What do you never skip on hard days? Like what are the things that really get you going and get you through things?
I wish I could say that I'm always going out for a walk every single day. I'm not there yet. However, I will say that on my birthday this year, I started with a video that said, I'm going to tell you about the number 1013. Hang on. And then I talked about a few other things later, and then I got back to it. And on my birthday this year, I had been in the Bible app 1013 times, days in a row.
Wow.
And it's just the Bible app. It's very simple, but I actually don't even get out of bed before I've read the verse of the day. I've listened to the 2 minute video, gone through some of the, just I take 5 or 10 minutes just That's how I start every single day. And usually how I end it as well. I'll go back, revisit the verse, use it as my prayers as I drift off to sleep.
I like that. It's kind of like a meditation that gets you started. It starts your day in a positive mindset, and then it kind of ends your day where before you go to bed, you're reminded of something that's very inspirational and motivational that you could apply to your life, or just remind you of a portion, or phrase in the Bible that you kind of, may have forgotten, and it's kind of refreshing if you think about it.
I just have to pull it up because this morning, the one that popped up, I thought specifically because I knew we were recording today, and it was from Proverbs 16:3. And it says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans."
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that. That is
Ah, thank you. And indeed, before I do my shows, I usually take a moment, even with my guests, and say, hey, you can pray with me or not. This is how I start my shows because we don't know, Stacey, we don't know who's listening to us because we're recording today,
Yeah,
but it's being put out there a different day. We don't know who's going to hear us. We don't know who's going to be touched by our words. And
yeah.
so, praying before I do my shows, then it doesn't matter who's my guest. They can
Mhm.
choose to join me or not. Most do.
Right.
But it just sets the stage and intention to say, work through me. Because,
Yeah,
and it's not my light. I'm just a reflection.
I love that. I love that. Now, when it comes to starting or restarting a business, let's get practical. Like someone who's ready to start or restart, what's the 90-day blueprint clarity like that offer audience and visibility that you recommend?
Well, it definitely starts out with what I already talked about. Know yourself. Know what you're really going for, and it's a very internal project for the first couple of steps. Then
Right.
you can get into the I and the L, which is igniting commitment, and then eventually launching into the unknown. And
Mhm.
that's where you start really deciding, okay, I'm not just thinking about it, I'm going to do this. That's where you start sharing it with a small group and then a larger group of people that know you. And by the way, just be warned, your friends and your family may not be your biggest supporters. Oftentimes, they like who you are. Oh, but we know you have a stable income with this job. Even though you're unhappy, we're happy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Be aware of that and be ready to handle that and then find, as I say, find your tribe.
Yeah.
Go find a coach, find a strategist like me that can kind of help you. I love just doing introductions. Meet with
Yeah.
me and say what you want to do and I'll be like, okay, you want to talk to this person, you want to use this tool, this is what you can do once I know your story. But I
Yeah.
don't have this is your 90-day system that's like everybody else's 90-day system. Each one is actually customized to the business, the person, the personality, the audience, and things like that.
Oh, I love that. Now, you help entrepreneurs choose trusted tools and the right coaches. How could people vet software programs and mentors without getting trapped by the hype?
Without getting trapped by the hype. That's a good one because shiny object syndrome, especially in these days of AI, you can create an app, you can create a business now literally in a day or an hour in some cases.
Yes,
I've shown people how you can create a download that you can give away for free in 15 minutes and have it online and working. So
yes,
today everything is so fast.
yeah,
And likewise, you get pulled one way or the other. Well, now you've got this. Well, now you've got that. And I get caught in it too. That's actually one of the reasons I started Joyminder was to have the trusted tools, not just every tool. These are the
yeah,
ones we use. These are the ones we know. These are the ones we can train you in. We've got the coaches. These are the people we know. We know exactly what they do. We know how they work. And I will tell you, the new website is coming along great, but some of these things haven't quite moved all the way over, but they'll be there shortly.
love it. Oh my goodness. Now, what are the top three mistakes you see new founders make and the simple fixes that they could do to fix those issues?
Top three mistakes new founders make. Well, as a matter of fact, I speak with a lot of people on my podcast about this. Like, what do you wish you had known before you started? One of my favorite answers was, I wish I had. Oh, she said, actually, I'm glad I didn't know how hard it was going to be.
Yeah.
She said, I'm glad I didn't know that I was going to really have to do some really hard work. And so sometimes the over optimistic, this is me totally. I mean, Strengths Finder, two of my top five strengths are positivity and belief. Like I'm a
Hmm.
glass 95% full all the time, right? But that gets me in trouble too, because when you run into hard things, you just have to pull back and say, okay, where can we shift here? I
Yeah.
think being unwilling to shift would be another issue. If
Yeah.
you think that somebody that launches their boat from one side of the Atlantic heading to the other never changes course, you've got
Mhm.
another thing coming because you
Right.
absolutely have to change course. And the
Yeah.
same is in business. So there's
That's
two. How's that?
I like that. Those are good. That's good advice. Now, what's one story from your summit or coaching clients that captures joy in entrepreneurship, even when life gets messy?
Ooh, my upcoming summit is so exciting. I have eight amazing speakers. One of them is actually the head of relationships for a phenomenal podcasting platform. He'll be our speaker on Friday. We've got a woman coming in who does publishing, talking about AI in the publishing world. One of my favorite speakers, though, will be talking about, living the laptop lifestyle and the
Yeah.
shift that it takes. She actually everything she owns fits in her car.
Wow.
And I mean, it's packed. Like, hey, do you want a new mug? She's like, no, I don't have room for another mug unless I take out a mug. I mean, it's that tight. But she is so happy because she can go where she wants to go. She can be there for the people she wants to be there for, and she's still running her business. So I have lots of inspiring entrepreneurs on the summit as well. A good combination of practical information as well
Yeah.
as inspiration.
Oh, I love that. Now, you host Beyond the Business Plan. What's the topics that resonate the most and what has your guests taught you about sustaining growth?
Oh, that is the best part of the show for sure. I say that I'm on there so that we can inspire aspiring entrepreneurs, but every single time I'm learning things. I, bringing on people that I work with, a lot of my recommended coaches, they're
Yeah.
also guests on my show. My speakers, all of them have episodes on my show as well.
Mhm.
And I don't know the number of lessons. I'm not even sure I can count them. We talk a
Mhm.
lot about AI, and learning how to use AI, how not to use AI. I have some other people coming up on my show this fall talking about AI. Um, I think it's just that opportunity to grow all the time.
Yeah.
Hearing everybody's struggles. This is why I do the show, so that aspiring entrepreneurs who are thinking about it, they're in that S or that A level, they
Yeah.
can listen in and just tune into the hope and the freedom and the joy, but
Yeah.
also hear the reality, the struggle, and the realistic timelines that people have gone through. Although again, AI is speeding that timeline up a lot.
Yeah, it definitely is. Now, community, after losing community, how can founders rebuild the circle, the mentors, the peers, the accountability, especially if they feel alone?
Oh, good one. I'm actually a new chair of a platform it's a
Mhm.
mind mastermind. There we go. Showing my age right there. Forget those words. Where's my CoQ10? Okay. Um, it's a mastermind, and it's actually called Trustegrity. And
Mm,
so it's a combination of trust and integrity. We meet once a month only. Hallelujah.
yeah,
Because, we all get busy. You have
yeah,
to be an established business to be in here. So this is not for my new businesses. This is
yeah,
for established businesses because we get in there and we really dig in. Hey, this is going on in my business. I need some help. And there's usually somebody in the group who can come in and offer some options where it's exclusive to, one lawyer, one doctor, one dentist, so that we're not stepping on each other's businesses, But
Yeah.
having a mastermind, that's what I said earlier too, a trusted tribe. I also lead something on Monday mornings called Leaders League. That's a Zoom call and it's open to the public, no membership required. And we love to come in and share what's going on, how we're navigating problems, or sharing new tools or new ideas or making introductions. So
Yeah.
that's it on Monday mornings that I offer. So those are great tools for people.
I love that. Now, for career changers and late bloomers, how do you age and backgrounds become more of advantages in the I would say an internship in
Hmm. Let's talk about the 18-year-old life coach, shall we? Because realistically, we know just from a biology point of view, your brain isn't even fully developed until you're 25. And yet
Yeah.
we're throwing people into careers that they go to college for. And it's been such this go to college, go to college. My husband's in the trades. He's like,
Yeah.
trades are losing, I think it's something like 500,000 members a year, and like
Yeah.
50,000 are going into it. We're going to be in a bad, bad, bad place with trades really soon. Actually, we kind of already are in a way because it's been such a push. You've got to go to college, go get that art history degree. Nothing wrong with art history degrees, but it's not terribly practical. But even those of us who went for a teaching degree, I was a seventh grade math teacher for 5 years. It's great until 4 of those years was spent in a classroom with no window. Did I
Oh,
mention I'm from Minnesota?
yeah, you
That
mentioned
Yeah, so it meant I was getting to my classroom before the sun came up, and I was staying in my classroom until after the sun went down, which meant for weeks of the year, I saw no sunlight Monday through Friday. You want to talk
oh,
about a way to burn out?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think a lot of people we go to school, we all we create that pretty picture of what we want to do with life and it has the white picket fence and
I knew you were going to say that.
and then you get into the real world and it's nothing like you in pictured. And most people don't even use their college education. Most people turn out doing completely different things. And those trades are important. Blue collar workers. We need people that do trades. It's very, very important, more important than people realize. Because if you don't have those people, you're in deep trouble. Those people, all around the United States, they do a lot for our country, more than people realize.
Oh, I heard that there is a prototype McDonald's that is completely run automatically, like from the ordering to making the pancakes to flipping the burgers to delivering the package. It's a cool concept. It's an automation thing, or maybe it's run by one person supervising it or something. And maybe that'll work in some areas, but there's not going to be an AI robot walking in and changing out your plumbing or replacing your water heater or fixing your ceiling after a water leak. It's just not happening. Those trades are far more secure from AI involvement than anything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a
I
big
guess
deal.
I am so sick of a lot of these companies trying to turn most of their things into AI generated, things. I want to speak to a human. When I have an issue, I want to deal with a human being. Most of the time, like even if I call up a company or I call up, like a CVS, it takes, I can't even get on the phone with a human being, and because they want you to speak with the generated AI, software, and they want you to find your answer. But a lot of questions, people don't have specific things they want to speak about, and they don't want to hear an AI generated answer. They want to speak to an actual human being. And there are a lot of, places that you go to that are AI generated, and it kind of turns me off, to be honest with you. Yeah, they think they're saving money, but that's not what the majority of our society wants. If we want to be able to converse with speakers. I one time got a medication. I wasn't sure if I could take it or not, and I tried to call the pharmacist, and the pharmacist it was virtually impossible to get hold of the pharmacist. And I'm like, you know what? I could be taking this medicine. It might have an interaction with the other medication I'm taking, and I could be dead, and I could not get a hold of the pharmacist because of their AI generated software and how they had it set up.
No joke. I won't throw the company under the bus exactly, but it was a telephone company. Let's go there. Took me
Mhm.
28 phone calls over 3 days to resolve a very simple issue because every single time I spent the first 5 to 10 minutes navigating their system to try to get to somebody. And when I did, unfortunately, get to people, that company sent me to the wrong departments regularly. It was a business line I was dealing with, and they sent me to the consumer division over and over. But I think, again, probably because those people are using systems that are
Mhm.
AI generated as well. It was the worst experience. And this is actually a phone company that I really generally like and endorse. But
Yeah.
it's a bad, bad experience because of AI.
Yeah. There are things that AI is good for, and there are things that AI is not good for. And we can't make society an all AI generated, society. We need people, and people are important, and people,
Yeah.
is what other people want. They don't want to speak to a machine. They really don't.
Well, back to teaching, one thing about not using your college educated degree.
Mhm.
Teachers, 75% of teachers are burned out, yeah, especially since 2020. But what many people don't know, and I didn't know, my husband told me, LeAnn, you should totally go into sales. I'm like, really? Sales? But I'd honestly been selling since I was 8 years old. I'd go out on the golf course and I would sell golf balls back to the golfers. Like, oh, no, can't. I don't know where that golf ball went. Oh, you mean this one? Right?
I love it. I love
I
it.
was doing that at 8 years old. And yet I, got into the trap of society saying, ooh, sales, that's icky. Well, when I stepped into it, you can maybe see behind me, I did pretty well with sales. I
Yeah.
lots of awards and trophies and things because teachers are natural salespeople. We're
Yeah.
selling to the students. We're selling to the parents. Everybody, honestly, is a salesperson. You sell to your spouse, your kids, your neighbors. Hey, let's do it, whatever it is, whatever you want, you sell it. And
Yeah.
so when you get over that phobia of sales, teachers who want to become entrepreneurs have a really high rate of success.
Right. It's so true. That's so true. Now, if you had one belief about starting business that you wish everyone would drop, what would that belief be?
Would drop in terms of would release.
So if you have one belief about starting a business you wish everyone would drop, like if you started a business
Yeah.
and you know it deep in your heart that this business is something that people, really shouldn't be investing all their time, effort, and money in. What business would you tell people to, don't get involved with this? It's not a good business.
Well, I'd have to say, I guess the thing that goes to me is anything illicit. If you're
Yeah.
doing something that's not morally responsible, please
Mm.
stop. Just please
Yeah.
stop. We're here for 80 years, give or take, if we're lucky. And most of us are lucky. Most of us make it. But it's a drop in the bucket for eternity, and we have an eternal life. All of us do. It just
Yeah.
depends on how you spend it. And if you're doing something immoral, if you're running a business that's immoral, if you're, I mean, I put this on my Facebook page recently, more of a Facebook girl than Instagram, sorry, but I'll get there. Um, but, it was of a dad, showing just the most charming videos of his 17-year-old daughter, forever 17, because she took a pill. One pill can kill. And the person who gave that daughter that pill knew it could be a drug that could kill her, and it did. He
Mhm.
knew it. he's in prison for 16 years now. She was 17 years old, but the father is left without his daughter forever. So don't do something. I mean, I pray for, honestly, I'll pray for the soul of that man who sold that pill, and I'll pray for the father that he can find forgiveness in his heart. Forgiveness is huge.
Yeah.
When I chose to be baptized again in 2019,
Mhm.
shortly after that horrific experience I mentioned earlier. And I came out of that water with forgiveness that is everlasting. It really is. And I had it tested recently too. But it's when you can get to the point of forgiveness, and this was my birthday ask this year. If there's
Yeah.
somebody in your life you're not forgiving, take any step towards it.
Yeah.
Let me know. And I had several people respond and say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to forgive my brother-in-law. Or I really struggle. I'm not sure I can forgive my mother, but we're only forgiven to the level that we forgive.
Yeah.
And we're only loved to the level that of the person we love least.
Yeah.
So, it's the first and then scenario. And those are hard truths. I don't think people like to hear those things,
Yeah.
but I think they're true.
It is true.
Stay out of the
Forgive,
emotional stuff.
yeah, forgiveness is really hard, but it is better to learn how to forgive than to hold it over your shoulders. It's like a weighing brick on your
Yeah.
shoulder. I think people go through more pain holding something against somebody than just to learn. And it's not, forgiveness is not easy, but if you learn how to let go and forgive that person, you don't have to hear that person say, I'm sorry. You in your heart just have to forgive that person for their actions and realize that, maybe they're not right of mind. Maybe they came from an abusive family. Maybe, there's many reasons why people do the things they do. Maybe they just came from an environment where that's all they saw. And
Yep.
to them it was right and to society it was wrong. We don't know, and we're not here to judge others, but we should learn how to just forgive and let go because all it does is it destroys us emotionally and then it physically you could see how it's affecting you because what affects us emotionally will show through physically, and it's just better to just learn to forgive and and just move on. It doesn't mean you have to become best buddies with the person, doesn't mean you have to talk to them. Just learn how to forgive and let go and just move on with your life.
I mean, there's so many examples you could give. I mean, the person who cuts you off in traffic and ruins your whole day, well, they're not even aware of it. You're never going to meet them again. They're never going to say they're sorry. So
Yeah.
get over it and just say, you know what, we don't, you just, the whole thing, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know why they were distracted or what the case may be. Just let it go. But then there's the other people, the people who did know what they were doing, who did intentional harm. Um, Again, to your point, do you really know how they grew up? Do you really know what was going on with them in their life at that point in that day? You don't have to re-engage with them. There's people that I will never hope to never run into again. And yet I have complete forgiveness for what they did in my life.
Yeah. Now, if you had to take today's discussion that we had, what are some things you'd like to emphasize that you feel are important that you'd like the listeners to walk away with today?
Tune into your heart. Your heart knows. If you're doing a business that's not right, if you're in a profession that's not right for you, your heart knows. Don't listen to your mind. It's your heart.
Yes.
It really is your heart. And so tune into what you're really called for. I believe it was said in Psalms, the end was known from the beginning, and that
Yeah.
we were knit in our mother's wombs with a purpose, which means it's always been there.
Yeah.
When I look at my skills, my gifts, my abilities, leadership, teaching, all of these things have been part of my life my whole life. I played teacher when I
Yeah.
was a child.
Yeah.
I dreamed of leadership. I wanted to know, how do adults connect people? And that's
Right.
all I do now.
Right.
And I love doing it. So
Yeah.
pay attention to your heart, pay attention to your history. And don't get too stuck on some of the bad things. For a while in my life, I did, well, this happened to me and this happened to me. A drunk driver hit me and all these things. Well, that's fine, but those things shape and mold you. They
Yes,
don't define you. Don't let them.
exactly. Exactly. That's so true. Now, can you tell everybody about the products and services and your summit and the things you offer?
Yeah, thank you. My Restart Your Summit, I'm super excited about. We are just the September summit is coming up in just a couple weeks from this recording. We do this though 3 times a year. So January, we're going to have another massive summit with amazing speakers. I have many of them all lined up already. We'll be finalizing those shortly. Then we do another one in May. And they're all a little different because the September summit is kind of like that final push before for the rest of the year. But it's
Yeah,
also for some entrepreneurs that getting ready to launch their business in January. And then
yeah,
January is about those new started launching business or setting goals for the year, maybe for the following January. And then May is a little bit more about, okay, for many of us, we want to kind of take the gas off a little bit, enjoy the summer a little bit. How do you use the summer for your business? Some people grow a lot in the summer. Some people just need to relax in the summer. So we have different focuses each time. And it's just my huge honor to bring in the speakers that I bring in, what they share, what they offer, the connection, it's just so fun. Plus, I bring all of them onto my show, which release those shows right before each summit. We've got
yeah.
this whole system going, and
Hmm.
I'm sure it'll change someday. Because that's how business goes. So we've got the summit, we've got the podcast, we've got joinminder.com. You can download the sailing system. You can check it off. You can see where you're at, and then you can book time to talk about where are you? Where do you want to go? What tools, what trusted tools, what curated connections do we have that might, help you along your way? And if you don't know what you want to do, you're totally stuck. I've got a whole bunch of business ideas out there too. Everything, all sorts of them. So
Oh my gosh, I love it. Now, can you tell them once again, where's the best place they can find you? That's easy to find you.
right now, Joyminder, JoyMinder.com or LeAnnLyon.com. That works too. But my name, Leanne, can be spelled a dozen different ways. So it's Leann, just 5 letters. Lyon is Lyon and .com. Very easy.
I love it. Well, this has been amazing. You are an amazing individual. I
Mm.
hope you'll be back on this show. You touched us with so many great, points about life and solutions and different strategies that we could use to get through life. And I love that you're doing the summit. And I think summits are great because, so many people join summits and they get so much out of it. I think some of the most valuable information I've ever gotten was through summits, and just so many different people sharing such great information from all different perspectives, and just the way people say things or the way they do it. There could be two people doing the same thing, but they both have a different approach. And one approach, could be really valuable to one person, and one approach could be really valuable to the other. Like, I have a lot of similarities when I do a lot of things that are similar to Mel Robbins, but when she came out with the let them theory, I thought that was brilliant. We talk about forgiveness.
Oh, good.
Love that. I was just let them. I'm like, wow. I read her book and I listened to her audio and I was like, I just love that. I've talked about forgiveness, I talked about this and that, but those two words, let them, and then just focusing on you and just making yourself better and say, just let them. And that's kind of like we talked about letting go, forgiveness, just let them, and I thought that was brilliant. And it's just like, that's what I like about summits is that people come on and they just have their own little way of saying things or doing things. They have their own strategies and we can get so much value out of it. So I hope a lot of people really come to your summit. I think your summit's great. I think it's going to do fabulous. And, I think if any, we'll put all that information in the description so people have the information. But today's, podcast and discussion with you was just absolutely phenomenal. You are a phenomenal individual. And I just love how you just, you leave things, to God, to your heart, and you just let life guide you and take you on this journey that you were meant to be on. And I thank you so much for coming on the show. You are a wonderful person.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. I'll come back anytime.
I would love to have you back. And for anyone that really enjoyed this podcast today and wants to learn more about these episodes, feel free to subscribe and to follow to our podcast. We always love to help people learn how to balance all areas of their lives. And come join us. And once again, thank you, LeAnn.
Thank you, Stacey.